It was the best of times, the worst of crimes. I struck a match and blew your mind, but I didn't mean it, and you didn't see it. The ties were black, the lies were white, in shades of gray and candlelight. I wanted to leave him, I needed a reason. X marks the spot where we fell apart. He poisoned the well, I was lying to myself. I knew it from the first, old-fashioned, we were cursed. We never had a shotgun shot in the dark. You were driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me. In a getaway car, no, they never get far. No, nothing good starts in a getaway car. The great escape, the prison break, the light of freedom on my face, but you weren't thinking, and I was just drinking. Well, he was running after us, I was screaming, go, go, go. But with three of us, honey, it's a sideshow, and a circus ain't a love story. And now we're both sorry, we're both sorry. X marks the spot where we fell apart. He poisoned the well, every man for himself. I knew it from the first, old-fashioned, we were cursed. It hit you like a shotgun shot to the heart. You were driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me. In a getaway car, no, they never get far. No, nothing good starts in a getaway car. We were chasing Bonnie and Clyde, until I switched to the other side, to the other side. It's no surprise I turned you in, 'cause us traitors never win. I'm in a getaway car, I left you in the motel bar, put the money in a bag and I stole the keys. That was the last time you ever saw me. Driving the getaway car, we were flying, but we never get far. Don't pretend it's such a mystery. Think about the place where you first met me. Riding in a getaway car, there were sirens in the beat of your heart. Should've known I'd be the first to leave. Think about the place where you first met me. In a getaway car, no, they never get far. No, nothing good starts in a getaway car. I was riding in a getaway car, I was crying. In a getaway car, I was dying. In a getaway car, said goodbye. In a getaway car, riding. In a getaway car, I was crying. In a getaway car, I was dying. In a getaway car, said goodbye. In a getaway car.
In a getaway car I was crying in a getaway car I was dying in a getaway car I said goodbye in. Now, it was reported to us that Gretchen was seen in Pierce's car at this gas station on Ann Street and that she was crying in distress inside, but whoever saw it wasn't sure if she was just drunk or what was going on. Was Daryl Lott's black Nissan Rogue One the getaway car for Gretchen Fleming to escape from John Jason Pape? The more important question we should be asking, did Daryl Lott or Preston Pierce use John Jason Pape to funnel Gretchen to him? Pape allegedly was a known heroin junkie, moving up from Huntington not long before this whole thing happened, got a house and a job at the local Eramet. So remember that black wrecker truck that John Jason Pape took Gretchen to the Front Row bar in? Everything in this case is black, and personally, I wouldn't say it's a coincidence, but I'll touch on that later. Everybody kind of asked the question, why is Gretchen hanging out with John Jason Pape anyway? There were rumors from locals who were at the Front Row several times and saw Preston with John Jason Pape and said he was meeting with a guy named Jason several times before this all went down. The most peculiar thing of all is after Gretchen was missing, John Jason Pape returns her stuff to the first bar, the front row, and doesn't say anything for 7 whole days. And then did Pierce spike Fleming's drink at the My Way Lounge and Restaurant. Now, if you look at what Elhaj Tariq Bey is saying, the bar where Gretchen was last seen, My Way, is putting restraining orders on people who ask questions about her. That is super suspect. That was December 24th of 22, right after this went down. And I've talked at length about these bar owners, how they're just nothing but bad news. Now, this bar is shut down, which is terrific news. We've been trying to get it shut down for 2-3 years now. No word on why it shut down, but I'm ecstatic about this, and I think the rest of the city should be too.
In my head, I don't care, I paint the town red. Bitch, I said what I said. I'd rather be famous. Bitch, I said what I said. I'd rather be famous instead. I let all that get to my head. I don't care, I paint the town red. Bitch, I said what I said. I'd rather be famous instead.
I talked about the possibility of police corruption in this case when the police forced the bar to sign off on non-disclosure agreements right after this happened. Why would they do that? Why would they call the DJ back from Florida just to do that? You can't coerce people to do that. Their website went down 12 days after Gretchen went missing, and now this is the updated version of it. And I had talked previously about how the police had threatened the woman who did over 300 searches for Gretchen Fleming that she was going to have to stop searching or else she was going to get herself killed. Before we get into our main topic, we did our exploration tonight behind Workforce, West Virginia, and we've got a discovery to announce. We may have found bones. Bring Back Shane noticed a bone out there. Looks like a human tibia bone, or maybe it's a deer bone, we don't know. This looks like possibly a human pelvis. Some bones were scattered around. Again, this location was Parkersburg's Lakeview Shopping Center at Value City Furniture, where Shane and Charlie were on the scene. He found that bone right in the middle of the trail, and there were 2 people, January 14th, Danielle, I believe Johnson from Missouri, and Josiah Wren from Pennsylvania. And the woman had deceased in that location, and we wonder if maybe this is her boyfriend who just stayed behind. Maybe died after the fact, we don't know. Now, one thing to keep in mind is EHD, or epizooological hemorrhagic disease. We talked on this on a previous video about the deer dying en masse, but there was no body, so these bones are from a while ago. I'll let you see if you can find all 4 fish for 30 seconds here as I talk about the bones that were found on September 14th off of Courtney Ridge Road by a squirrel hunter. And what we talked about was that law enforcement had called Gretchen's family and said it wasn't her. They have taken a lot of tips from the public, but they haven't put a blanket statement out to the public concerning who this is or who it isn't. We just know what they've told the family. So Brenda Mackey has been missing since 2015 from our area, and her family reportedly had it leaked to them that maybe the bones belonged to a male, but nobody else has seemed to hear that so far. If that's true, it would eliminate her from being the person found off Courtney Ridge Road. We're going to show you some pictures of where she last lived and what some of her family members were saying, and our hopes to try to bring some answers to this family. As we get toward the spooky time of the season, we are getting some rumors and possible reports of maybe witchcraft in play here. Now, someone on the channel has tipped me off that maybe there's a prominent Wiccan member who owns ground where the bones were found. And I'm hearing from another person who I work with that, well, that's been rumored to be a place of where witchcraft has happened. Cows' tails getting cut off out there and all kinds of stuff going on. Maybe it would be a dumping ground is what I'm being told. We were told of a different dumping ground out in Newport, Ohio. This forest does have an Ohio River access point by Newport, Ohio, and it's rumored that there's a dumping ground of where bodies could be dumped between maybe Lane Farm and Leith Run campground. And in the Gretchen Fleming case, the drug community would often say that maybe she would be in a barrel out here somewhere in these parts. So let's circle back to the Gretchen Fleming case where we've got our main player, Preston Pierce, and there's a lot going on here. So if you remember back when this all happened, the end of 2022, he had the Nissan Rogue, which was black, and it had 48 counts of Gretchen's DNA in it, and you can see dust on the back of the car with handprints on it. So he was on a gravel road somewhere after the fact before the police seized this car, and he's never gotten it back. Well, he got a new Nissan Rogue, and it's just an interesting choice for somebody who says the Star Wars thing wasn't a big central focus, but it's a Nissan Rogue, like Rogue One, that came out in 2016, the movie, and the Nissan Rogue vehicle, I believe it came out in 2017. Here's another look at the black Nissan Rogue One. It was always said that Preston was a neat freak, and that car looks very clean, other than the dust that's on the back of it. It was rumored that he was seen at Family Dollar purchasing 5 gallons of bleach the day after Gretchen came up missing, allegedly. Gemontrinator.com, you get a reduction number of 47. Out on Route 47 is where he was staying with his sister Judy, right beside the college there. Now, there are no indications of Preston's sister having anything to do with this crime, and when it's family, of course, you're going to look out for your siblings and stuff. But there was a point where he was supposedly homeless, but then, of course, he got the money to get another Nissan Rogue, which made no sense, and then he moved to Huntington, which the location of it was weird because he was in veterans housing. This is a record of property taxes paid by Preston Pierce, or Darrell Lott, as his former name was, at that address, 232 Miller Road. So you can see he had been there for several years, or at least using it as his address. Now let's go back out to Courtney Ridge Road. That's where the bones were found in Palestine, West Virginia, including a skull in the woods found by a squirrel hunter. So where does Dob Lott fit in all of this? His real name is Harlan, and he's Preston's brother, and like Preston, he too was a former policeman, where he worked as a bailiff in Wirt County, and retired a few years ago. Now he's out on Stooky Hollow Road, which reminds me of Spooky Hollow Road, where my grandparents lived in Indiana. I have a brother that lives out there. We had a bunch of dog carcasses dumped out many years ago, but I can't seem to find a Courtney Ridge Road in his previous addresses, as the rumor was that maybe he owned that ground out there. We're going to have to check it out. What you're looking at right now is a triangulated area of all 3 locations. Now, about a year and a half ago, we had gone to Lott Cemetery, and back in behind there, there's like a trail camera, and we found a white lily. It was like a cemetery flower. A psychic said that a white lily would be found where Gretchen would be found. And then the middle location is where Harlan Lott lives on Stooky Hollow Road, and then the human remains were found on Courtney Ridge Road. So we do believe that the remains were found a little bit farther out on that road. Now, Courtney Ridge Road will take you all the way into the town of Elizabeth, which is also on the Little Kanawha River, just like Palestine, which we talked about on our last video. Alright, so it's that time. Let's do another deep dive on Preston Pierce. So you see this uniform, the prison uniform. We're going to show you where he got it. But first, you remember how I talked about so many things being black in this case? Well, he created a profile, Caleb Black, but before we even get to that, there are rumors that he is adopting a black lab and carrying it around Huntington with him right now, probably in an attempt to lure women, is what we think. Now, in a previous video, we showed how he did the Star Wars dress-up with his daughter, and he said that Star Wars was just one Halloween thing, but you can see he's got it all over on fake profiles, the stickers on his car, it's all over. Now, I talked about witchcraft at the 4 full moons. That's very intentional, and he uses it as the profile picture on his Caleb Black profile. Now, he had 2 TikTok accounts. This is one that says Deputy Sheriff on it, so that tells you right then and there, it's him. He had a primary TikTok with a Pittsburgh Penguins championship trophy, and I had communicated with him early in the case, but the only post was this. Now, I had theorized about 1.5 years ago that Gretchen may have been human trafficked to a country like India or Korea, and somebody on a recent message board within the last couple months has said that there are a couple claims that maybe people have seen Gretchen Fleming surface on the dark web out in Korea, human trafficking, but they're not substantiated, and we don't know if there's any validity to that at all. There was an early claim that Preston had received $20,000 on a check early in this case, and then one of his accusers, who he allegedly raped, had claimed that he had a safe with $10,000 in it, but this was years ago. This was probably 10 to 15 years ago. Now, Preston would say that the name Caleb Black was to reference one of his deceased sons, which could be, but there's more of a hidden meaning to black, and let's check it out here. Now, everybody knows what black symbolizes: the end, mourning, grief, death, evil, but loss, solemnity. It's kind of mocking us. Black is also used in secret government activities as well. Now, with Preston and possibly even his brother Harlan Dobb Lott being involved in the government and the police, the way they've handled this whole case, it just really makes you wonder if there's something covert and secret going on with this. I mean, we've seen it in Korea where the police were involved in human trafficking out there, so could it be the same thing here? So here's the full moon as his profile picture on Facebook, and that's definitely intentional, and it means something, but here he says, I used to be a parole officer, and my nephew is currently a parole officer here in Wood County. I can tell you without a doubt that we never take a K-9 on a routine check. Routine is a single officer doing a knock and talk, maybe 2 at the most. So with him saying his nephew's a parole officer here in Wood County, it symbolizes that he wasn't an officer in this county, meaning that is him managing this account, which I knew that because when I was talking to him on TikTok, it was under the name Caleb Black. So he's getting a little bit sloppy here, trying to use these fake accounts. It's not hard to figure out. It's him. Most times when a person uses a fake profile, they are performing a deceitful action. Here are his Halloween costumes he was selling and the prison orange jumpsuit that he posed with his daughter, saying how it was a crime he didn't take her to Sweet Frog. Well, that's there. He used that Halloween costume. This is a lighthouse. His accuser, who he had allegedly raped, said he was obsessed with lighthouses. She said he would have lighthouses all over in his bathroom, and it was a main decoration piece in his house. Here is Jaromir Jagr, the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was selling them with a friend on the police force. He would have a police friend go pick him up for him. Well, we now know who that is. His nephew. I would like to take this time to thank the community for its help on this case, and hopefully we can solve it one day. Check back with us on December 4th for an update on part 3 of this video segment.
Lies, lies, lies. Our lives are made up of so many lies, but you cannot disguise how fucked up this world is. Don't